Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will be talking about investing. I will cover things like how I learned to invest, how I like to invest, and what types of things I like to invest in, and maybe just cover some basics. If you are an investing expert, this is not the video for you. This is just very rudimentary, basic things. Also, I want to say that this in no way is any kind of financial advice. I don't have any type of certification that would allow me to give someone financial advice. These are things that I do. These are things that fit my personality, my way of investing, my relationship with money. Everybody is different. This is strictly information and for your enjoyment. So let's move forward. If you're new here, my name is Reina and this is Small Retired Life. And on my channel, I talk about all things retirement and living a small retired life, but a meaningful life. So welcome here. There is no possible way I can impart 30 years of investing experience in a 30-minute video. But I learned like anyone else. I started off knowing nothing, and I read up as much as I could on the topic. I got my university degree in finance and business, and also did a lot of courses in economics. As most of you probably know, I used to work in the capital markets. So essentially, I did work in the investment industry. I was not a stockbroker. I worked in investor relations. So I worked more with a public company and helped to market their shares to investors such as pension funds, mutual funds, or retail investors, people like you and I. I did need to get a certain amount of literacy in investing over the years working in that field. But when I started, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about investing at all. From around the age of 32 all the way through to today at the age of 62, it has taken me that long to learn about investing. And I continue to learn. It's a never-ending process. So please don't feel bad if you find the whole topic overwhelming. To keep things very simple, I tend to invest predominantly in very high quality companies like some of our Canadian banks, Canadian utility companies such as electrical transmitters or some of the pipeline companies, and mostly I invest in ETFs. ETFs are exchange traded funds, and they're kind of a new version of the old mutual funds. Mutual funds are still around, but they have a fairly high management fees associated with them. And most people end up buying exchange traded funds, which have much lower fees associated with them. And these trade on stock exchanges just like regular shares. Think of an ETF as a basket. And inside that basket, you have a whole bunch of different types of companies. Or you can have a whole bunch of different types of bonds. Or you can have a whole bunch of different money market instruments like treasury bills or cash. So every ETF has something different in it. What you do when you buy a unit of an ETF is you are buying everything that is in that ETF. So if you want to, let's say, own every single company that trades on the TSX 60, so these are the top 60 companies in Canada, you would buy an ETF that comprises of all of those companies. So by buying an ETF, you are allowing yourself to own a little bit of everything. ETF investing is pretty simple, but it still requires a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of research on your part. If you're a total noob and you really don't understand investing, no matter what anyone else tells you, it's definitely worthwhile having a financial advisor who will help you with some of the choices. I tend to like the financial advisors that you pay them a fee and they're not beholden to any one specific type of product or institution. They just give you some very unbiased advice as to how to invest and make sure that your portfolio is set up for your retirement. Once you start investing using a financial advisor or a stockbroker, I would suggest you learn as much as you can and eventually maybe open up your own little trading account and learn how to trade your own stock. This is where I find it's best to start off with ETFs because they're a great beginner's tool for investing. You can find an ETF of almost any kind of description and for any level of risk. One of the questions that comes up every now and then is what is the difference between an ETF and an index fund? Because quite often you hear people talking about the fact that they invest in index funds. Technically, these terms tend to be used interchangeably, but technically, there is a difference in just how these two investments are priced. So an ETF trades like a share, and every second that it's trading, it probably has a slightly different price. It might be $10 one minute, $10.01 the next minute, $10.02, or $9.99, and it's trading like that throughout the day. And when you buy an ETF, even if that ETF mimics an index, you are buying that ETF at the exact price that you make that purchase at. Whereas an index fund, a real index fund, is actually priced at the closing price of that index at the end of the day. So even if you buy it at like 9 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning, the actual price will be given at the very end of the day. So that is the difference. To be fair, most people, when they're talking about the fact that they're trading an index fund, they are actually purchasing an ETF that has or mimics an index fund within it. I'm very picky about the kind of investments I make. I prefer very high quality companies and high quality ETFs. And I want to know what that company does. I want to understand its business. I don't buy crypto. I don't buy high-risk mining stock or gold stock. I only buy companies like financial firms, banks, insurance companies. I buy utility companies such as electrical transmitters and pipeline companies that all pay dividends. I do not own a single company that does not pay a dividend. I only own companies that have a proven record of paying dividends regularly. Of course, you sacrifice a little bit on how much money you make. These companies maybe don't provide as much of an upside to them as a very risky company, but I don't care. I just want to know I'm going to make a decent income every month or every quarter from an investment that I purchase. I'm also in a stage of life where I don't like to take huge risks, and so I buy lower risk shares and ETFs that are more likely to provide stable income streams. I had the idea of doing something a little crazy, maybe for some future videos, but I thought that I might open up a trading account with one of these trading apps like a Wealthsimple or Questrade. They're very easy to use and very accessible to the average person. And I thought we could take a few $100 from my YouTube earnings and invest in a few ETFs. And I'll show you how I do it. And we'll pick some really common ETFs, ETFs that a lot of people own in Canada and that are kind of like a no-brainer. If you were to get a financial advisor, they would probably buy you these ETFs. And then you could follow along over the months as we go down the road. And I could update you on how things are going and maybe show you how these dividends go into my account every month. If you're interested in that, let me know, and we can certainly start something like that. I think it's sometimes easier to show people what to do as opposed to trying to explain what to do. At the same time, I don't want to be recommending any particular ETFs or stocks. I'm going to buy ETFs that I like. I'm going to purposefully buy something that is very non-controversial if I'm going to be showing it publicly. The reason I want to do a trading app like Wealthsimple is because it's really easy to open an account, and I don't particularly want people watching me do things in my own personal extensive trading account. I don't really want anyone to know what bank I deal with. So I would just rather open one of these very simple accounts. By no means will I be promoting Wealthsimple, or, you know, if I choose a different app like Questrade, I'm not promoting, nor am I sponsored by any of these companies. They're just really easy to open accounts with, and so I think that might be the best way to go if I'm going to show something publicly. The reason that I also want to show you how to do it in an app like a Wealthsimple or something like that is because through these apps you can purchase fractional amounts of shares. So for example, in my personal banking investment account, I get charged a transaction fee every time I do something. It's like $10, it's not a lot. But it makes it difficult to buy 10 shares of something because you're essentially adding $1 per share in costs. And that's just not worth it. Whereas in these apps like Wealthsimple and so on, there are no trading costs. So if you want to buy 10 shares of something or 10 units of an ETF, you can do that. That being said, some of our banks have excellent online trading platforms. It is what I use in my everyday trading. And there are ETFs that you do not have to pay to trade. There are no fees associated with them. So if you want to open up a trading account with your bank's online trading platform, you could probably ask your bank about what types of shares or ETFs are available to you to trade without any kind of trading costs. The other thing I have to say for investing is the only way it works is that you have to make this a priority. You have to decide that you're going to do it, take the money out of your budget to do it, and you also have to do it regularly. For me, I've always purchased stock every single month. In the early days when I didn't need the money to live on, I would purchase stock, and then any dividends I would get that month, I would either accumulate or I would take immediately if they were sizable enough and reinvest into more stock. And by doing that, you're kind of building your assets on top of each other, because the more stock you buy, the more dividends you get, and the more dividends you get, the more stock you can buy. So it's compounding every single month that you're doing that. And I still do that to this day. I still take a portion of what I'm earning in my investment account and I buy more stock with it, predominantly ETFs nowadays. If I buy company stock, then again, I make sure it fits in within my parameter of good quality company that pays a dividend and whose business I understand. And this is how you build wealth. It's very difficult to teach people how to invest in a span of 20 to 30 minutes. So I think I will need to make this a series. If this type of content interests you, please give me a thumbs up on this video and also consider subscribing to my channel so that you can join in on the fun of discussing retirement or just seeing a simple day in the life of someone who is retired. I'm thinking that if I make a series about investing and open up a little trading account and then be able to demonstrate how I buy ETFs and then demonstrate how there's dividends that come into my account, this may be of interest to some of you who are beginners and who've never actually experienced investing yourselves. What I do want to say is not everyone is made to be doing their own investing. I really want you to check in with yourself, because if you're the type of person who cannot handle seeing stock markets go up and down, knowing that you have some money invested in stock market shares or ETFs, then you're probably not the right person to be buying these types of investments. You may be better off with a really high yield savings account or a GIC. I have to be honest and say that that type of investing, though, has its limits, and you will probably pass on some really nice opportunities to get more money through investing in the markets. I think nowadays you really have to be diversified. You have to have some money in the markets, maybe some money in a high yield savings account, maybe some money in a GIC. I think you need a little bit of everything, especially if you're the average person like me. I have all of those things. I don't limit myself to only one thing. Also, just as an aside, I would like to say there's some great books out there, books that I've personally read. They're all listed in the description in my Amazon account, or my Amazon links, or whatever you want to call them. And this is the Canadian Amazon store, and these are Canadian books. But a couple of them I think apply to anybody. So one of them is The Wealthy Barber by David Chilton. Amazing book on how to budget, how to manage your finances. And I think in the latest version of it, he's got a little tiny bit about investing in index funds or ETFs. And the second one is by Fred Vitesse. It is called Retirement Income for Life, Getting More Without Saving More, and excellent retirement guidebook. And again, I think probably even if you're not Canadian, you can get a lot of value out of his work. And the third book is by a fellow, Dan Bortolotti. I don't know if any of you Canadians out there know the whole couch potato way of investing, which is basically buying a few ETFs and maybe a couple of them that follow certain indices, and you just put all of your money into that and forget about it. And he wrote a book called Reboot Your Portfolio, and it's all about ETF investing. Again, it's an older book, but I think it's pretty valuable, and it teaches you quite a bit about ETF investing, and especially if you're Canadian, because there's so much out there for our American friends, but there doesn't seem to be as much information out there for Canadians. So this is just an aside for you. Discussions of investing is very overwhelming, so I don't want to go much further today. I think that the best thing would be to make this an ongoing series, and if you're interested in this type of a topic, you can tune in to the videos and keep up with what is going on once I get the trading account opened and we can follow along together. All right, everyone, this is it for this week. Please join me next week on my channel. I post videos every Tuesday. Bye for now.